This is the CLT, a safe place for you and me. Possibly the best show in the Queen City that's not on TV. Hi, I'm back. I'm Tiffany Blackmon. I am your host and reporter for Charlotte MLS. And we've got another edition of the CLT. I tried to get myself together today. T-shirts about the best I could do. Sorry. And we're all at home anyway. So what's up, Amy? Oh, all right. Our guest is already here. She's very prompt. You guys are in for a treat. And I'm waiting for her to send in her request to join the live because I'm still like trying to get used to technology and stuff like that. No, I mean, we got a bunch of random people trying to come in the live. Fans, we appreciate you tuning in. Jill has a lot to say. She covers the MLS. Maybe some of you are already familiar with her. And it looks like I've got the request. Boom. I'm sending it at her. And I think we're ready.
Hi!
Hello!
How are you?
Good, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
It'll be my cat. I swear this thing, like, she won't want anything to do with me for 6 hours. And then the minute I'm recording something,
She pops
finds
up.
her way.
I'm not going to judge you for having a cat. I'm still trying to cross over, so team dog.
Team dog, oh, I wish.
Wait, I got to give you a formal introduction. So this is Jill Sakovitz. Jill, you are all over the place. You're the host and sideline reporter for The Enemy, Atlanta United. That's on Fox Sports South. Their games are on Fox Sports South. Jill, you also co-host for The Call Up. So that's Major League Soccer for the MLS. She's got a little sign there. Way to plug your show. And you also are a storyteller for them. You're on the Big Ten Network. Like, you do it all. I don't know how you keep up with your
Just
schedule.
following after you, Tiffany. That's all.
Trying, yeah. I don't know if that's a good thing, but
I am fangirling right now. I've followed you and seen your work for so long, so this is awesome.
Well, you're so kind, and right back
see you on the soccer world.
Your whole setup with the bar and everything. I poured myself a drink so that we can get this
water right now. Yeah.
Oh well, yeah, this is water too. Anyway, as I mentioned, Jill covers the Atlanta United. So that being said, I guess we can call it like the I-85 Derby. Is that what this rivalry is going to be?
You may have just come up with the rivalry name. MLS will be so happy because we know they love a rivalry.
And then the proximity, it's only natural. So I got to ask you then, how much better will the Bank of America atmosphere be than, say, Mercedes-Benz?
Well, as we say in MLS, every fan base and every supporter group is unique. And in terms of like the way that they go about things, I went to Atlanta the year actually before I started being their sideline reporter. I wasn't a part of the team the inaugural season. I got brought in the second year. And I was so used to, let me think, like the Seattle fans, when they are like ride or die. They are some of the most intimidating fans in MLS. I mean, also going to CenturyLink is intimidating in itself. People know it from the NFL. Well, their MLS team also plays in there. But they basically are like the Southern hospitality version of supporter groups. Like, if you are the NYCFC third rail and you take the trip to Atlanta, you can come barbecue with them, you can come hang, but then they make it clear that, like, the minute you come in the stadium, like, not friends for the next 90 minutes. But I've heard such amazing things about soccer in the Southeast. We see soccer in the South growing with Charlotte and Nashville and Atlanta, and that other rival probably with you guys, Orlando, and now Miami. It's a really nice hub, and I think it's an undiscovered hub in the United States with soccer. So I know you Charlotte people will match the intensity, and I'm excited to see what your style is going to be. But let me tell you, like, right now, the intensity and the fan experience to beat is the one in Atlanta. So challenge.
Challenge accepted. I'm sure our fans are definitely going to show up.
Woo!
And you're just talking like that fan experience that you were just bringing up. Why is it so important, I guess, for these teams to have their people travel? And can you talk about, you mentioned the barbecuing and things like that, having fans getting to go tour and then cheer on their teams in other stadiums? What is that experience like for them?
I'm seeing a lot of acceptance rolling in. That's so great. Yes, challenge accepted in like
Challenge
the most
accepted.
Southern friendly way ever. I think that is something that is so unique to MLS fans. Tiffany, an NFL tailgate, a Yankee Stadium tailgate, that's cool. And there is tailgating in MLS. There's big time tailgating, the same way you'd see it in an NFL stadium. But the difference with supporters, and I spent, 3 years doing a series about supporters and supporter culture, is their dive into the community. The first assignment I ever had was in 2015. I went to Portland, which is a must-go away stadium, by the way. But I went to Portland, and I think I was just doing something on like the fandom in the stadium, and they're like, "Oh, are you going to be here on Wednesday? We work at the soup kitchen." And then it's like, "Oh yeah, and on Thursdays we do a reading program at this school." Like in some ways, MLS is a modern day church group with these supporter groups. It's like their community. Some of these people hang out 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah.
So it's not just the tailgating at the stadium. It's like what webs and what grows from that.
The entire experience. I see Susanna Collins, who we had on before.
Hey,
so
I'll see you
hello,
at 7.
Susanna. And getting to go to these different stadiums and just get that experience that you've been able to, be a part of. You've also been a part of the, team maybe from the ground up. You said you got to Atlanta before, but joined in their second season. So you saw this team, you saw Atlanta United from the beginning. What was that experience like being there as they were, establishing themselves still in the MLS?
So I think something that started with the new wave of expansion teams is the idea of excitement and dedication before you even know what the product is going to be on the field. And don't get me wrong, before this wave of expansion we've seen in the last few years, you could go to original teams. I think about the Philadelphia Union, the Sons of Ben is that supporter group, and that's a great name, by the way, Sons of Ben. And they were a supporter group that existed before there was even a team in Philadelphia. So that it's not new, but in terms of the level of dedication, it's just kicked up a notch as MLS has started to really take off. And it's belief, right? They had to, the supporters in Atlanta, what I saw is they had to believe in Arthur Blank, the owner of the team in the Atlanta Falcons. Then they had to believe in, okay, who's this president, Darren Eales, which we also see in MLS, these kind of front office people that the fans know and love, and they want to go hug them too, which we don't find that in all sports. And then it was the belief of, okay, we're bringing this player from South America. I guarantee you for an average or even above average soccer fan, you've never heard of him, but he's going to be good and he's going to score goals, and we're going to bring him to Atlanta. So it was just belief, right? And then it's watching all the pieces fall into play. I look at, he's gone now, but I look at Tito Villalba, the first ever designated player, and you guys will get to know what designated players are. It's big conversation, but it's the big name, the expensive signings, and you bring these guys in, and you hope that they produce. And for Atlanta, it all clicked. Obviously, 2 years in, they win a championship as a franchise. But that's what it is. It's just the belief in, all right, we're in it. We trust you guys. We don't know exactly what you're doing, but we trust you.
And we actually got somebody from you guys. So
yes.
Talking about the players and the trust and all of
right.
that, Bobby Belair is now with us. And I know he came from Atlanta United. And when he came with us just to be our director of player personnel, you told me that we were getting like a great guy. And you couldn't say, enough great things about him and the work that he does.
Yeah.
What does he bring to a team?
So one thing I really admire about Bobby is, we trudge into the stadium as the broadcast team like 4 hours before kick, and you know what it's like. You're trying to not mess up your hair and your makeup and all the things that you did 6 hours ago that you want to look good in 12 hours. And, Bobby's also thinking about a game, and he'd never stop to be like, hey, Jill, how are you? You need help with anything? Oh, you're everywhere. And he's just such a pleasant guy. And then second is he has worked under, Tony Anand in Atlanta, who is revered for the work that he's done with the academy. And then someone else he's working alongside with is obviously Carlos Bocanegra as our technical director. And he's arguably the best defender in U.S. men's national team history.
Yeah.
So you're getting a guy like Bobby that came in very young and hungry from Clemson and then took in all of this Atlanta United success, championship, 3 trophies last year, all of those things, and then the money that someone like Charlotte's owner and Arthur Blank put in, and he took all that, he learned what to do with it, and now he's in Charlotte building an enemy for Atlanta United.
And that's part of the foundation of like building a winning culture. When you've got somebody that has done it before, that has been there, it's only going to elevate your team. And I know so many people are excited to see what this product's going to look like once they actually start playing. And I do want to let you guys know too, if you have any questions specifically for Jill, throw them up down there. We're watching them as they scroll by, and we can, rattle them off to her. But Jill, have you been to Charlotte before? Do you know a lot about this city?
No, I think I flew into the airport once. But other than that, I know when you had Susanna Collins on, my co-host, when you had her on, she loves Charlotte. She's saying it's like one of my favorite cities. I think I have a friend who went to Elon University actually, and maybe I flew into Charlotte, but that's like as close as I can remember. So I'm excited to get there.
You should be. I came a lot here in the past 5 years. I was basically here every day for work. So I love this city, and that's why I wanted to come here and live here. And I moved from Atlanta.
So you did?
I did.
Wow.
Yeah. So I guess I'm kind of like an Atlanta traitor now, but I'd rather be here anyway, because I feel like this is going to be the better team if I just want to add some more to that rivalry, pour some flames on it,
I'm into that.
So you said the call up, and I know you were tweeting about how you've got a busy night. So that comes on at 7, right?
Busy.
And that's
Yeah,
is that with Susanna,
busy.
Right? You got a full slate. Oh, we have a
busy.
question too. I'm going to interrupt you. So
Sure.
They're asking, what is your favorite moment in your part of? I think it was about the build up to the games. It just went by so fast.
That's okay. Oh my gosh, I know these things. So soccer fans or not, one thing you'll hear too is maybe if you get like a Boston Red Sox fan, they're like, I am not going anywhere but Fenway Park. I love Fenway. One thing in MLS is for the most part, your diehard soccer fans love to put like one road trip on their calendar. That's when you run into people at the games or in a bar and they want to talk to you. That's like, where should I go on my road trip this year? And, they'll pick Chicago or they'll pick Portland or Los Angeles now has become a popular one. Anyone in Charlotte, when soccer does return, I recommend putting Atlanta on your list as a road trip, especially because it's kind of a nice, easy, first doable one for those of you who haven't maybe been out to an MLS game this year. But in terms of first favorite moment, so funny. So I'll walk you through it. Our Fox Sports South set is down by one of the corner flags. And we have a 30-minute pregame show. And I literally finish it. I put my little backpack on, which is the worst. And I just run to in between the benches. And then between then and the commercial break, I do the sideline reporting. And that moment is very chaotic. I'm also trying to remember what I want to talk about. I'm weaving in and out of players, that kind of thing. But in Atlanta, and you can hear it when you watch the broadcast, 20 seconds before kick, there's just the loudest horn noise ever. They play a lot of Atlanta rap, and in that moment, and that's when I know, and I think Susanna told you, I had to buy these new noise canceling IFBs, which is the little earpiece that goes in your ear, because once that horn goes off, one, it's deafening and I can't hear anything through it. But then two, that kind of ignites the crowd. I mean, Chill's just talking about it. That kind of ignites the crowd, and then I can't hear anything. So it's a guarantee that in my first hit, I won't hear anything that I'm saying. Or hear when my producer tells me to start talking. And that moment, as chaotic as it is, has grown. Wasn't probably my favorite moment when it first happened, but it's my favorite moment now.
And I saw another question go by about the supporter groups in Atlanta. That one's for Amy, so thanks for asking that. And that may be something I can look forward to here. What has your experience been like with the different fan groups? Because there's so many different ones in Atlanta.
Yeah, so there's a number of recognized supporter groups, and they all tailgate in the same area, but it's kind of like a block party. They have their sections. There's Terminus Legion, There's Footy Mob, there's the Resurgence, there's the Faction. Those are like the 4 recognized supporter groups by the club. And just to sum them up in a nutshell, I have like so many Atlanta scarves, but it's not this one, but I had coronavirus in March, and as soon as I put it out there that I had it and that I was fine, one of the group's Resurgence said, like, could we get your address? And they sent me a care package, like, to take care of me, like a scarf, some stickers, a nice little get well card. Like, that's them in a nutshell. And it's not just Resurgence, it's all of them. The fans, like, I feel like I know them, and they feel like they know me, and they're the best.
We've got Mid City Collective here, so I saw a couple. Yep, there's someone represent. We see you. So I can't wait to see these folks out at games. And Jill, you mentioned that you did have COVID-19. I know you've been really open about that. There's an article up too on MLSsoccer.com for you to check out about your battle with it. I imagine that had to be so surreal when you're seeing it on the news, and then you're not feeling well, then you find out you have it.
Yeah, I'd say for me, as soon as I started to not feel good, just given the timing of the situation, I had just wrapped up a 10-day road trip in between week 1 to week 2 of the MLS season. I just had this feeling that I had it. And while my symptoms stunk, it was never, for the most part, debilitating. So I never had a sense of panic. Maybe that's how I handled it. But I also think that what helped so much was, right now I'm with family in New York, which is where I'm from. And I mean, we were hearing sirens nonstop, night and day. And you're seeing people on ventilators. You're hearing a friend of a friend, a neighbor's friend who died of coronavirus. So for me, there was a couple moments where, is this going to develop into something bigger? But 99% of the time, there was no sense of panic for me, because I knew how lucky I was that I was not in the ambulance I heard going by or on a ventilator or anything like that. So I just did what I had to do. I operated like I had it. And because of the challenges that there have been in testing, by the time I got access to a test and it was advised to me to get tested, because I put off going to a doctor for a really long time, because you didn't want to go in there and infect someone. And if you don't have it, you also don't want to go in anywhere and get it. But once it was advised and the doctor sent me to get tested, then it was a number of days before I even got confirmation that I had it. So I was very much on the up and up by the time it was confirmed to me that I had coronavirus, because it was so early on. This was like mid-March.
And then what you've since done, since recovering, you've donated your plasma. I saw you make a post about that. How important is that too, to be able to go out and help once you've had it and you've gone through that experience?
Yeah, it's the absolute minimum that myself, and I think anyone else who's healthy enough to go out and lay there like this with a little needle in your arm for 45 minutes, it's the least we can do. And people get so nervous about it, needle pricks and baggies and all this stuff, but it's not even as bad as donating blood, because they actually don't even take your blood. They just take the plasma out of it. So there's none of that woozy feeling. And the importance is I say this in the article that MLS asked me to kind of recount the experience. But when I went in, the nurse was like, yep, 1 bag. It can go to 3 people. And I was like, okay, all right, yeah. And then I got in my car, and it kind of really dawned on me, like, if that was my dad, that was my spouse, that was my child who got a plasma transfusion, and they don't know how effective it is, but if that even helped give 3 people a fighting chance, and then that maybe saves heartbreak for 3 networks of people, I mean, that speaks for itself. It's so important to go. If you've tested positive for COVID-19, I tweeted out the link. The link's on the page. If anyone wants, just DM me and I'll give you the link, and you can find your location all across the U.S.
And that also leads me to what the MLS is doing with MLS Unites. I know we've been showing different ways that the community has been helping towards this effort. Have you had a role in that, and also just discussing that with the players across the league? Yeah,
so MLS acted really fast. Credit to them. The league was postponed on a Thursday, and by Monday, a little microphone, a little camera, all these things to start to try to get the league to work from home arrived at my house. And not too long after that, the MLS Unites initiative was rolled out, and it's been great. This week is MLS Unites for something new. So it's like, what are you picking up at home? And I mean, I know so many people have asked me that, and sometimes my answer is like nothing. But then other times it's like, all right, you are doing new things. I'm working on my Spanish. I've been taking online classes. So I am trying my something new. Some players I've talked to, it's baking an apple pie or it's making a soccer training video. So everyone's really rallied behind it. They pick a different theme, Tiffany, as you know, every week. It's for something new, for healthcare workers, whatever it is. And we touch on it too in our podcast, The Call Up, which is on MLS channels every Tuesday.
I see another question. We're glad you are feeling better, though, and thank you for contributing to the effort to fight COVID-19. I see another question from Smitty there. Who's your favorite player that you've ever interviewed? Do you have one? Is that putting you on the spot? Can you name a couple that are really good?
Yes. I can name a couple that are really good. I always have an appreciation. I think you'll probably find this in Charlotte, too. For whatever reason, the nice guy seems to be the goalkeeper. So I'll always appreciate Brad Gazan. Win or lose, tired, not tired, lets in 3 goals or has a clean sheet, he's probably going to talk. So you love a reliable interview. So I'll give props to Brad Gazan there. After MLS Cup, Michael Parkhurst, who was the captain at the time, retired coming into the season. He had lost 4 MLS Cups. He had been in 4 MLS Cup finals. 3 times the first 3 years of his career, then 2015 with Columbus, and then he wins it in 2018. And for me, it was like, you have to ask, was it worth the wait? And just his sigh and the way how emotional he was after that. Michael Parkhurst was a great interview, but right now I would say Joseph Martinez, the star of Atlanta United, yes. He's been working on his English a lot, and I give him so much credit because he goes through a translator, and now if he's pumped after a game and they do well, or sometimes he'll hop on an Instagram live, he'll really chat with the reporter, and it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be how he's feeling, and he puts it out there, and that's not easy when you're tired and you just ran around for 90 plus minutes, and it's your second language, and it's loud. So I think right now it's Joseph and his willingness to put himself out there.
Yeah, he's a fan favorite down there, and I was there when they won the championship.
Really?
I actually, my vocal cord, I injured it. I had to have surgery afterwards. Yeah, it's a whole other story, a whole other can of worms to talk about. But I obviously love the game. I know you love it. Do you have a soccer journey? Did you play growing up?
Yeah, I know you played in college, right, Tiffany?
Yeah. I was a fullback, right side.
Scary.
My nickname was the Enforcer. I'll just leave it at that.
Oh my God, spoken like a true defender. I love it. I played from when I was 5 until I was 18 in varsity, and then I played club in college. And then it disappeared from my life for 5-6 years. You know what it's like. You kind of graduate school, no more time to be part of a team. You got to go out there, get a job. And I started covering sports in New York, and it was Knicks, Rangers, Yankees, any of that stuff, and really little coverage at the time for NYCFC, who didn't exist yet, and the New York Red Bulls. And then just kind of soccer, and I put soccer off to the side. I watched it, I liked it. I come from an immigrant family, and they all had soccer on all the time, but I put on the back burner as something that I'll never see again. Then all of a sudden, it kind of started picking up steam, and I jumped at the opportunity to kind of get back into it.
Do you have a favorite favorite stadium food? I know Atlanta United, I know Mercedes-Benz has some good stuff there because I've sampled it. But when you look around the league, would you recommend a go-to stadium to go get something to eat?
Atlanta's got great food, great drinks. But outside of Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I got to tell you this, the Seattle press box has a Starbucks.
I'm there.
Irrelevant to most people here, but I just had to throw that out there. I think it was, Sue said something about Minnesota. So I will tell you about LAFC has a very cool kind of cafeteria food hall, very LA, with tacos, espresso bar, all this that you can go in before you even get your ticket and go. So you could go hang in the parking lot, I guess, go into this food hall, hang, and maybe not even go into the game if like you can't get a ticket. So that's been a cool addition, is kind of food halls being added to MLS Stadia, which they also have in Minnesota.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I just got too excited about the food. Sorry.
Yeah.
Basically, like, oh,
I hear ya.
So before we let you go, because I know you have the call up coming up, if you want to plug your show.
Sure.
What do you guys have going on tonight? What can we look forward to? We get a 30-minute break, right? Because it's at 7.
Oh yeah.
And then we hop on over to MLS. Yeah.
So Major League Soccer, especially, I know it's so hard to get into stuff. One, if you don't have a team, and then when there's no play going on. But one thing I've told people to think about is like, now is your chance to just absorb podcasts, because you can get to know, you're not going to get to know a lot of X's and O's, but you're going to start to hear about players and fans and get to know these guys, because then when they come out on the field, you will like have that connection with them. So Major League Soccer has 2 like official podcasts that they put out. One is Extra Time Radio. That's a little more X's and O's, a little bit more hard-hitting soccer. And then the Call Up is a little bit more about getting to know the guys. You know, we dig deep into the locker room. We like to really pry about the teammates, guys' journeys. You know, we have guys who've come from Africa, the Middle East, you know, how they got to MLS. Then we also have a little bit of fun. We might play a drinking game or 2 once in a while, but we also have, that's a podcast, and that comes out every Tuesday. And then now during quarantine, we go on Instagram, on the MLS Instagram page, and we have like a 30-minute happy hour every Friday at 7 Eastern.
We'll definitely be joining you for that. And I kept looking down. I got to give a shout out to our producer, Ryan Bailey.
Hey, Ryan.
Do you know Jimmy Conrad?
Everyone knows Jimmy.
I know, right?
That is the hardest working. That guy's everywhere.
So I was getting the text from Ryan, but what do you think about his title? He's self-proclaimed greatest defender in MLS history.
So I've always looked at that and like giggled. I don't get offended by it at all. I think it's hilarious. And we had him on the podcast, and it was like the first question I asked him. I'm like, arguably the most handsome? I'm like, who would give you a run for your money? And then he had a list of like 20 guys that he has I guess a guy crush on, other former defenders that he thinks could give him a run.
Oh, that's
for
right.
his money.
It wasn't greatest. It's the most handsome.
Whatever.
Right? That's what it's. No, that is what it is. The most handsome. In the MLS
Jimmy is so funny.
Well, we've got him on next week. So next Friday, I'll be going live with Jimmy.
You're in for it. Buckle up.
So yeah, I hope you. Any advice then on what I should prepare for with Jimmy, or should I just, wing it? Is he out? He's out there, right?
Give him a hard time. He's definitely going to be in his AT&T hoodie, because he does things that I think are sponsored by AT&T, and I always give him a hard time. Like, Jimmy, you changed your hoodie? Who knows? In 2020, maybe that's not a sponsor anymore, but I feel like I've seen him in an AT&T hoodie for like 3 years. But definitely give him crap about his Instagram and his Twitter. I'll send you our interview with him because you can kind of dissect it. Oh, one thing Jimmy does too that's very funny is he sets up just totally normal kick-around games with fans, and like 80 people could show up. Like, he'll just write, hey, I'm going to play at this field on Main Street at 2 p.m. in Houston. And he'll just write it, and then he just plays soccer with a ton of people. It's hilarious. It's amazing. He's a maniac.
That's really cool. We'll circle that for next week, guys, because we'll have Jimmy Conrad on.
Oh, that's good.
Have the lovely Jill Sakovitz joining us. Jill, make sure you guys hop on over to the MLS Instagram account to watch her on the call up. That's at 7 o'clock. Jill, thank you so much for being a guest on the CLT.
Tiffany, I'm so excited to have you. I just I'm happy we got to hang out. Virtual hugs, and I can't wait till we can hang out in person and work together.
Same. Cheers. I'm excited to be a part of the family too.
Cheers. Thanks, Tiff.
Thanks everybody for joining us. And we'll see you next week for another CLT. Hop up to the MLS page at 7. This is the CLT, a safe place for you and me. Possibly the best show in the Queen City that's not on TV.